The trails along the Hudson River, 60% are women. So it's not that the women don't like to bike, it's that women don't like to bike if it's not safe. So these are some of the things. But look at this traffic jam that they're having. Fantastic. What a nice problem for a mayor to try to solve. It's 4 out of 10 people. You know, in Copenhagen they got a higher per capita income than any city in Canada. They have a higher level of education, they got a similar political system. Nevertheless, 4 out of 10 of the people use bikes as the mode of transportation. And that's how they go to the movies, and that's how they go to the theaters. They use it in the winter. You know, the first thing that they plow there are the sidewalks, and then the bikeways. You know, from the point of view of vulnerability, the most vulnerable are the pedestrians, and then the cyclists, and then the transit users. So that should be the priority when we're gonna do any kind of public work, whether it's the removal of the snow or maintenance of the infrastructure. That should be our priorities. And then that's how we're going to get more people and children and older adults and everybody cycling. And by the way, simple things such as getting the cars out so that it's a little bit safer, and then counting. They gotta count. Like I was there in December and it was -3 degrees, and I went at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. They had many of these counters now all over the city. They had 3,800 cyclists had gone by. I came back at around 11 p.m. and over 7,000 had gone by. So it's good because then you count. You know, in most of the cities in Canada, we know everything about cars. We know how many cars on the weekdays, how many cars at night, how many cars on the weekends, So then we know the problems that the cars have. And then we try to solve those problems because we know the problems. But we have no idea about pedestrians or cyclists. So since we don't count them and we don't have good information, then we don't try to solve their problems. By the way, when people think that cyclists just mean 20 to 50 in spandex, not everywhere. And the other day I was at a high school and at a secondary school, and I said, look, that's how the youth people, that's how they go to party on the weekends. They go on their bikes and they come out at 3 a.m. with a few drinks, but they are not and a little tipsy. But it's safer to be tipsy on a bike than to be tipsy driving a car. So this is, and then they go out, and then the next day they're ready to go back to work. So that's some of the things that we. By the way, the mayor in Copenhagen, they are not happy that 4 out of 10 use their bike. Now all over the city they got this, that by 2015 they want to go to 5 out of 10. So 4 out of 10 is not even enough. But it's not only Copenhagen that is about the size of Ottawa, but it's also in many of the smaller towns. They're doing the same things. It's how to develop cities for people, how to create communities for people, and not for cars. Because the reality is we've been building cities for about 5,000 years. And it's been only in the last 60 or 80 that our focus has been more on car mobility than on people's happiness. And then these are some of the things that are taking place. Towns of 55,000 people, 30,000, 100,000. It's about a way of life. It's about thinking, how do we want to live? For example, in some of this is a really nice, this is Odense, about an hour from Copenhagen, about 100,000 people. And look at this. When you go to the pedestrian places, you gotta leave your bike out. Or you have to walk your bike in. And something that is nice there is that the traffic lights are at the speed of the bicycle. So the green wave is at the speed of the bicycle. Why is it nice? And it's not because we're going to put all the traffic lights here or not, but it's about priorities. And I was asking, so if the green wave is at 22 kilometers, when you're going on your bike, you have a sensor, and it tells you how fast you're going. And then, so you know, if you want to get all the traffic lights in green, then you speed up or you slow down or whatever. And I was asking the Commissioner of Transportation, I said, yeah, that's nice, but who cares? You know, if you're going to take 23 minutes to go to work, now you're going to take 20. 3 minutes more, 3 minutes less. I said, oh, you didn't get it. This is not about the 3 minutes. This is about sending a message that a person on a $20 bike or $30 bike is as important or more important than one in a $30,000 car. So in some ways, when we think on any community, on the pedestrian and the cycling facilities, they're going to be fantastic. Half of it is for safety, but the other half is also to provide dignity. It's a message that we're sending to the community that these people are also important. And these are some of the roads. And by the way, this is also good for business. I heard that many people here from the business development and economic development. Well, last year in the middle of the economic crisis, Forbes came out and said that Denmark was the #1 place to do business. And look at this, for example. In Renfrew County, the levels of physical activity are around 45–50%. Well, that's how Denmark was in '93. Look at the yellow. Across all ages is between 40 and 50%. So when people say, oh, people do not change. No, people do change. Now they went up from that to the red one, look, above 70% across all ages. But then everybody got behind it. The business community, the politicians, the doctors. So like if you got sick and a doctor, or you needed more physical exercise, and the doctor recommended that you would go to a gymnasium and do some kind of physical activity, the government would pay for it if you go for more than 80% of the dates. And then they say, you know, why is it that the government pays for medicine but is not paying for the gymnasium? No, they are also paying for the gymnasium. So they did many, many things, but look how they went from 45% to over 70%. So those are the kind of things that Renfrew County could move up in these kind of levels of physical activity. But then we gotta start thinking also, what kind of cities are we gonna build? You know? How do we wanna live? You know, it's not just about telling people, you know, don't waste a liter of gas to get a liter of milk. We don't have corner stores all over the place where people can actually walk to or bike to a place to get eggs or meals and so on. We gotta start thinking, how are we gonna build? You know, we gotta have parks within walking distance. You know, in Ontario we're amalgamating schools everywhere because of the cost. Yeah, it's easy to see how you reduce cost because instead of having 2 principals, you have 1. Instead of having 2 custodians, you have 1. But then when you amalgamate schools, the catchment area is also much bigger, and then more people have to be driven to or bused to or so on. So it has so many other implications. So we really got to decide, you know, this is not just an issue of budget for the Board of Education. This is something that the whole community should get involved on how to decide those issues. Because when we define cities around cars, and that's how we've been doing it in the last 60 years, all we really get is more cars. And then we gotta go out and invite our friends to help us cross the streets. And this isn't far from reality because the streets are getting wider, we're living longer, so we're also getting older. But when we define the cities around people, then we get more people and we get healthier and happier people. And that's the idea. How are we gonna get better quality of life? And you know, someone might say, hey Gil, don't talk about quality of life. We're in the middle of an economic crisis. You know, precisely. Because the reality is that, you know, the best people, the role of any community today, and once again I go to the view from economic development, is how to attract and retain the best people. And in an ever more globalized world, the best people, they can live anywhere they want to. If they're the best carpenters or the best medical doctors or the best engineers or the best artists, they can live anywhere. So why would they live in Renfrew County and not in Ottawa or Vancouver or Copenhagen or somewhere else? That's why we need really good quality of life. And let's start thinking, if I was a family doctor and they need family doctors everywhere, where would I go? Well, wherever me and my spouse and my kids have the best quality of life. So that's the same thing. It's not about quantity because some people, in some communities, there was a community in Toronto that had grown from 200,000 to 700,000 in 30 years. And then they were saying, oh, look, we are so successful that we are growing. I said, no, it's not an issue of quantity. I mean, Canada is so far ahead in the world that if we open the doors for 24 hours, we can double the population. So it's not quantity, it's quality. Can we attract and retain the best doctors and the best engineers and the best musicians and the best of everything? So quality of life today has become the most important tool of economic competitiveness for any city, for any country, for any region. That's how Canada is gonna be a leading country in the world. That's how Ottawa and that's how Renfrew County and how every community is if we have quality of life. The places where there is no good quality of life, people might come in with an incentive of getting a big salary, like in many of the places where they have now the oil sands. People go in and they work for 2 or 3 years, they save some money and then they leave. They don't stay. So we want people is to stay. We want our best people to stay and we want to attract really, really good people. And good communities is not so much a matter of engineering, actually it's much more about people. So that's what we're talking today. And that's why I'm so happy to be here with Jackie and Mandy and Green Communities and be part of Canada Walks. And I want to thank you for the invitation because to share some ideas. Because once again, as I said, this is applicable in rural areas, in urban areas, in big towns, in small towns.